Is a $1,500 professional Cerakote job really 30 times better than a $40 method that you can do yourself? Well, today I'm going head to head with our marketing director here at AT3, and he has Cerakoted a bunch of guns and can produce what I would call the professional finish. On the other hand, I have a $50 budget to get everything I need to be able to coat a single part. And Charlie is going to Cerakote the exact same part his way. Then they're both going to face a torture test to see how they hold up. Stick around to see which one survives and whether your cash is better saved or spent. All right, everybody, we're in Charlie's shop, and Charlie is someone who has a lot of experience in doing paint, from automotive to Cerakote, spray paint. He really does know his stuff, guys. Okay, Charlie, so here is your upper right here. Now, you get to use whatever tools that you have in your garage in order to Cerakote that in the most high-end way possible. I have my upper right here that I have my $50 budget that I'm allowed to use. So let's go ahead and do the first step. So what's the first step that we need to do in order to successfully Cerakote both of these?
Well, the first thing we need to do is we need to make sure that they're clean before we blast them or sand them. So what we're gonna do is we're either gonna soak them in brake cleaner or simple green, but yeah, we're just gonna clean them real good. So yeah, if you wanna use some brake cleaner,
okay.
Here's some brake cleaner.
Perfect.
Do you want gloves?
Yes. Gloves are what? A couple of bucks thereabout. What I'm gonna do is I'm basically gonna do the same process as what we did for our spray paint video. So that's basically just clean this guy off with some brake cleaner, and then I'm gonna sand it off with some Scotch-Brite pads, and then clean it off again. And then that's when I'm ready to kind of start my process. But what's your process gonna be?
I'm gonna spray it quick with brake cleaner, and then I'm gonna let it soak in simple green for 20-30 minutes. Kind of make sure that any grease or oils that might be on this can come off with the simple green. Then I'll take the air compressor, I'll spray it down, give it a quick look over. If everything's looking good, there's no oil spots, I'm gonna stick it in the blaster.
Okay, some of these are household items, right, Charlie, that don't exactly count. If you have them in your house normally, then that's just fine.
I mean, paper towels are what? $4 a roll. You use a couple of sheets, call it $1 towards the budget. Sure. We'll call that fair.
Okay, that's fair. There we go. So the next step is you're gonna be sandblasting yours. And as a counter to that, to stay on the cheap side, I'm gonna do the old-fashioned scuffing method. Try to save some money.
Have fun.
All right. So what I'm trying to do here is get all the hard to reach places first, and then I'm gonna go over it again with the red Scotch-Brite, which is pretty cheap. I'm gonna go over those easy flat places again after I get those hard to reach places, just like we did back in the spray paint video. Super simple.
Meanwhile.
So I got my upper here. I'm gonna throw it in the sandblasting cabinet. We're gonna throw it in here. We're gonna shut this up. Essentially what we're doing is this upper has Cerakote on it. You shouldn't Cerakote over Cerakote. But with anodized parts, you can actually just kind of blast it, profile it, and you don't have to get all the anodizing off. But since this is Cerakote, we're gonna take it down to bare seat.
All right, Charlie, so now that you got yours all sandblasted down, it looks great. What's our next step for the professional job?
So next step is we need to degas it. If there's any oils trapped in the metal, we want to get those out, so we're gonna bake it. We're gonna throw it in an oven. For metal, about 250 degrees. If this was plastic, we do about 150, 180. But we're gonna put it in there for about 2 hours.
All right, while Charlie's doing that, doing some last cleaning bits, I'm gonna go ahead and hose this down with a little bit more brake cleaner to get all this residue off from the Scotch-Brite and take it from there. So let's get going. Totally missed both times.
Well, we know how he is at shooting, so
Wow.
that'll be good.
Cool. All right, Charlie, so you had mentioned throwing these in the oven. Why are we throwing these in the oven and baking things off before we apply our Cerakote?
So essentially we want to cook these metal parts, like I said earlier, 250 degrees. Plastics are going to be about 150, 180. Essentially, if there's any oils trapped inside of the metal, we want to get those out. Because let's say you're dumping a couple mags, your gun's going to get really hot. That metal's going to expand ever so slightly. If the oil comes out, well, that's going to be under the paint, and that's essentially going to make it so the paint wants to lift. So you're going to get really bad adhesion, and it might flake off over time. You might actually end up with a small bubble in it. But more so, it's just you're going to have bad adhesion.
With your oven, you have this kind of nicer DIY oven. What are some alternatives to this as well? Can I just throw it in my oven in my kitchen, or what can we do?
You can put it in your kitchen oven, especially at this step. Like, there is no smell. For other options, this is a vertical smoker. I picked it up for free.
So this is super DIY, but in this case, the tools don't matter as much as the technique.
No, it gives great heat. It's a 1500 watt heating element in here, and I took one of the racks and put it up top so I can hang parts. We're just gonna come in here.
Since this doesn't add anything to my budget, technically, since you said I can use my kitchen oven or something, I think I'll go ahead and throw mine in there with yours as well to off gas it. Or
if you can use your kitchen oven, just essentially stick it right on the grate. Really, all you're trying to do is see if there's any oils that come out. When the oils come out, it's gonna look like a wet spot.
Put it right here-ish. There you go.
2 hours later.
All right, so we're totally cleaned. We're sandblasted. We just took them out of the oven. If we need to, we're taped up, but we're not doing that this time. So now we're on to mixing the paint. And this is my most expensive part of the budget because I had to get, real Cerakote. So can you tell us a little bit about the cost of each one of these items and how they work together?
So Cerakote, it's not that expensive. It's not as expensive as some people would think. One of these, it's a 4-ounce bottle. It's 35 bucks. It comes with the hardener here. They'll give you enough hardener to do the whole bottle. In my experience, they give you a little more hardener than you need to do the whole bottle.
And you can buy these directly on Cerakote's website.
Yep, Cerakote.com. So how it works, it's essentially a chemical reaction that between the two, it gets hard. It's kind of like two-part epoxies in that instance.
Yeah, okay.
Most people are gonna do the medium, 18:1. And that's kind of, if you get any production parts, stuff like that.
That's kind of what everyone knows as
that's kind of the standard Cerakote. Is 18:1. Say you want it a little more shiny or a little more flat, you can adjust that hardener ratio, but don't exceed the high end or the low end, because then you'll end up like that two-part epoxy where it just never gets hard. More hardener does not equal harder. More harder.
Yeah. So we're going to be spraying our parts with this Cerakote. How do I know how much Cerakote that I need in order to fully cover all my parts?
One of these 4-ounce bottles, they'll do 2 chassis for an AR 15-inch handguards.
So upper, lower, and a handguard.
Yep. But really, you kind of got to just mix them up and see what you get. I would suggest spraying a little test panel or something. Kind of seeing how far does 10 grams go. The one downside is once you mix it with the hardener, you have 2 hours to apply it. After that, anything you mixed goes in the garbage. For a lot of people, math is hard, including myself. Cerakote does have a resource calculator on their website where you can literally take the model number or the color name, you put that in, you say how many grams you have, which gloss you want, if you want gloss, medium, or flat. Again, the medium's recommended. You put in how much weight you have. So their calculator does go by weight, so you will need a scale.
Okay, some kind of scale.
Yep. But once you know the weight, you can type that into the calculator and it'll tell you exactly how much hardener you need and the total amount. So you don't even have to do any math.
Well, perfect. Awesome. That saves us math challenged people. All right, so we're gonna be pouring your color into this spray gun. So is there anything unique that I have to get? Like, I've seen stuff like this for 30 bucks on Amazon.
Paint guns, they can range, you can get a $30 one off Amazon. They will work. You can go all the way up to like $300-400 on a paint gun. The paint gun you get is just gonna make your life easier. The difference between a $100 spray gun and a $300 spray gun is very little. The difference between a $30 spray gun and a $100 spray gun is much more. So really it's kind of one of those, I would put some money into a spray gun, but I wouldn't go spend $300-400 unless this is what you do every day.
And guys, in order to stay within my poor budget, instead of going with Charlie's nice spray gun, I'm gonna use this amazing spray system. It's literally just a glass bottle with a little aerosol can that I can plug my paint into and then just go to town, as opposed to Charlie's nice gun. But we'll see if this one works just as well. It may or may not. I don't know. For $5, could be worth it. Okay, so now we're at the part that we've been waiting for, right? Just spraying this down.
Yeah, so we're pretty close. The one thing we have left is we want to do just kind of one final cleaning of this. You never know what got on it in between the sandblaster, baking it, all that. So yeah, we're going to hit it with some wax and grease remover and wipe it off. The key thing is when you're cleaning, wipe it off. Because if there is anything, if we hang it like this, you'll get little drops of the cleaner at the bottom. Well, when that dries, any debris in that liquid will dry up and stick to the metal. So we actually want to make sure that we wipe everything down. So the first thing I want to do when I'm spraying is I want to get the hard to reach areas first. Because if I focus on all the flats, when I start trying to get all these hard to reach spots, I'm going to end up with too much paint on the flats.
Kind of like scuffing.
Exactly. And then I want to hit my pick rail. You got 3 different edges on them. So you got to hit it at all different angles. So the first time I'm going to come upwards. So now I'm going to come downwards. I'm trying to keep a consistent distance, usually 4 to 5 inches about. You can always practice on some cardboard, other metal, stuff like that to get a feel of what your gun's doing. But so since I kind of got my hard to reach spots, now I'm going to go over with just my normal coats. Come down and up, down, up, down, up, down, up.
Trying to be as even as you can with it.
Yep. Yeah, so we'll let this hang, but essentially the solvents are going to work its way out of the paint and you'll see it get flatter instead of being super glossy from the wet paint.
So we want to let this dry out just a little bit, then we'll put it in the oven. Now it's my turn. I'm going to go ahead and use our super scuffed system here. It's not really scuffed, it's just a much cheaper way to do it. So let's give it a try. We're going to test this out on some cardboard first, and then we're going to start hosing down the upper here. Let's give it a try. I don't like that so far.
There you go. Here, let me see it.
So it looks like, it's
problem
not spraying really well so far. So what's going on?
So the problem here is it's not getting sucked up the tube. It's not wanting to come out of this orifice well. So what we're going to do is we're going to thin it a little. We have some methyl ethyl ketone, or MEK. You can use acetone. This just evaporates a little slower, but we'll throw a little in there. Essentially what this is going to do, it's going to thin it out. So hopefully it fits through this nozzle much better.
How much does one of these things cost?
Depends where you are. 12, 15 bucks. If you get a gallon of it, it's probably usually 30, 40 bucks.
Okay. So this might ruin me from staying under our budget, but kind of an unforeseen circumstance.
You can use acetone if you want. We'll see how this sprays now so that we thinned it.
Ah.
Do that. Tap, 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 tap.
Tap it.
There you go. All right, now go to your part.
All right. Now that we got that fixed, let's go ahead and try this.
There you go. Now it's blowing. Yeah, you're good. Hang it. These have been hanging for about 15, 20 minutes, flashing off. If you still see any like really glossy spots, that means that it's not flashed off completely. But these are looking pretty good, so they're ready to go in the oven. So once we get these in the oven, about 250 degrees for 2.5 hours since they're metal. Again, if you were working with plastic, about 150 for an hour and a half. But other than that, once they come out of the oven after 2.5 hours, we can put it together and we're good to go.
All right, let's do it.
2 hours later.
Okay, so it's been 2 hours, thereabout, give or take. Yep. And so we're gonna take these suckers out of the oven and see how they look.
You first. And I'll grab mine.
That looks pretty good. I mean, yours obviously looks great, but I'm actually not too ashamed of mine.
If someone didn't know that that was not done professionally, you'd have to look really, really close at it to figure it out. Like there are a couple blemishes, don't get me wrong.
My first time doing it.
First time, you're gonna learn, you're gonna spend a lot of time learning. Yeah, you got a Cerakoted upper now.
It looks like this could be possible to do it a little bit better on the cheap, but let's take these back to the shop and maybe just dive a little deeper into what is different about these. All right, we're back in the shop, and to find out how well these two coatings hold up over time, we're going to go do a pretty extreme set of torture tests. But before we do, let's quickly go through the budget breakdown of each of these two techniques to show you what a pro looks like versus our budget method. Let's start out with Charlie's method, which has a pretty expensive list, even with him getting a deal on a lot of his gear. It brings with it a sandblaster at about $450. His blasting media, which is basically the sand he was using, was another $100. To run many of his tools, he needed an air compressor, which costs about $800, and with all the hoses and fittings and other accessories, it comes to close to $900. There's also his spray gun, which is $100, and the scale to measure the Cerakote and the hardener, which was another $15. We also use a shot glass, which you might be able to find if you have a liquor cabinet, but they typically cost around, what, $10 or so? Items like the Simple Green and brake cleaner came out to about $5 each. And we also have to include the Cerakote he used, which costs about $35, which we talked about. Charlie did get away with repurposing a vertical smoker as the oven, which was free since he got it from a friend, but he did have to install a heating element into the oven, which was another $35. All of that brings his total of all of these components to about $1,570. That's not including the cost of years of experience and expertise in painting. That's a lot of money to spend, guys. Now let's talk about the budget for my process. And this process and this entire concept actually was inspired by our friend, Delta D80, who did a similar version of this a couple of years ago over on his YouTube channel. So go check him out if you like this version. He's got great content over there. We'll start out with the brake cleaner, which costs about $5 a bottle. The gloves and the paper towels I used for this video were items I already had laying around, so we'll estimate the cost of those a total of around $2. I scuffed up my upper to prep it for paint with Scotch-Brite pads, which was about $3, and you can find those at just about any hardware store. Now, we also used Charlie's oven for this video, but we could have easily used a kitchen oven at home, so I'm listing that as a free option. The Cerakote itself was, again, about $35, making it the most expensive part of the budget. To measure and mix the paint properly, we had to use Charlie's scale, which is something I didn't account for, so that's going to push us over budget in the final cost, since it's something I just didn't know that we needed. And if you don't already have one laying around, they're going to run you another $15 or so. You don't know what you don't know, I guess, guys. Finally, to apply the Cerakote to the upper, we used an amazing spray bottle. That was about $5 at a hardware store. We did run into a snag, so we had to thin out the Cerakote to get it to flow through the spray gun, which cost another $5 for the small amount of acetone that we used. That brings the total of our budget to $71. You know, I went into this with a $50 budget, and for my time Cerakoting, I couldn't make that happen to get everything I needed. But now if I ever wanted to Cerakote another firearm, I pretty much have the paint and the consumables, which would easily bring me under the $50 for all of my future projects. I'm actually really surprised that my first attempt turned out as well as it did. It's worth noting that I had a pro painter standing over my shoulder, guiding me through the whole process, which probably isn't something that you're going to have access to. The expertise added by having direct instructions from a professional is something we can't put a price tag on, guys, and it's likely made the entire budget paint job possible. So thanks again to Charlie for helping me out. Even with that professional paint help, though, I still have some missed spots, like right here towards the back, and since we had to thin out the Cerakote to get it to spray through the cheaper spray bottle, the coating feels a bit smoother to the touch, and I bet when we get out and start torture testing these paint jobs, we might really start to see the cracks in the paint from the budget job, but I guess we'll see. Just by going by the looks, if I had a little bit more practice, I think we could get this to about 80% of the way to a professional finish. If either of these Cerakote jobs look a little intimidating for you, remember, the easiest way to get the Cerakote finish is just buy parts that come Cerakoted right out of the box. There are tons of companies that offer this as an option, guys. Or would it be better to spend a little bit of extra money per item and get Cerakote on my rifle right out of the box? But we're not done yet. We got to run these guys through some torture testing. So let's head outside and run these guys through the gauntlet and see which finish holds up better in the end. So for our test, we found ourselves a dirt road out here close to the shop. We have our 2 Cerakoted uppers here, and we have some shot cord. And we also have Josh's nice truck that he donated for this experiment. I can't take credit for this nice truck. So the plan is we're going to tie off our upper receivers kind of like this. We're going to tie them off to the bed of Josh's truck. And then we are going to tow both of these through about a mile of dirt road and see how the finish holds up after a mile of dragging it through. So let's get these tied up and let's see what happens. All right, we're tied off. Let's go ahead and get to our test. Let's do it. All right, there we are. We're in the back of the truck. Let's get going. Hit it, Josh. Oh, stop. Oh, we lost one. We lost one, but I see it. Go ahead and turn around. That was insane. Wow. Here is our professionally done pink upper though. It's pretty beat up as you can see, but you can see some bare metal exposed there. But definitely took a beating. So let's go take a look at our green one that's on the side of the road. Here's our green guy. And we can see, I would say this one is a bit more damaged. You can see here how we have the black underneath, how you can see the anodizing underneath because we didn't actually, sandblast all the anodization off. We still got some bare metal here. So this one's a little bit more scraped up, beat up, but not by much. Not by much. I wouldn't say that at all. I think it's pretty comparable, but this one definitely held up better, I would say. So, but again, probably about 80% there, not all the way, but still pretty close. All right, so that was our drag test, but let's do a couple of more tests to thoroughly see how these guys hold up. So we're first gonna do a rub test, and that's what we're gonna do is we're gonna take brake cleaner, put that on some paper towels, and then rub for a really long time and see how much of the paint actually comes on the professional one versus the green one. So let's go ahead and start doing that real quick. We're just gonna rub this for days. So, I mean, I rubbed it for a good long while and it looks great. Nothing's coming off. So that's test number 1 with the professional. Let's try it with the budget. I'm really not good at shooting. There we go. Oh yeah. You can see right there, the green's coming off. You see that? Versus our pink. See, there's no discoloration of that at all, but there's a ton here. So yeah, that's a good test there that this is definitely wearing off a lot more. So yeah, that tells me that adhesion is nowhere near as good. And that probably has to do with the fact that we didn't sandblast this one, or that this one got soaked in the simple green. It was a little bit more thorough of a process than this one. But yeah, that's definitely coming off a lot more. And if I kept going, it would just keep coming off. So next up, we're gonna try the punch test. And what we're gonna do is take out our punch and our little Real Avid hammer here, and we're just gonna tap along the surface, along the same side of the upper, and then we're gonna take our thumbnail and gently scrape and see how much of the paint comes off. So let's go ahead and try that right now. We definitely have spots where the paint, but it's not really scraping up a lot. It's just kind of holes there. So not so bad. Let's go ahead and try our budget Cerakote job here. And I honestly don't know what's gonna happen. I probably am gonna guess that more of the paint's gonna scrape off, but let's see what happens. It's kind of hard to describe, but I definitely, oh yeah, you can see some paint flaking off there a little bit. Over time, this definitely would start to wear a lot more than this one because this just kind of feels like a paint starting to chip. Rather, this one feels like an actual coating that is much harder to get off. But it's pretty close. It's pretty close. It's by no means like 100%, worse, but Again, it's probably 20, 30% worse, which is pretty consistent with the testing that we've been seeing. Punch test also proves an inferior option to the real thing. All right, guys, our last test for the durability, we're gonna throw each one of these underneath Josh's truck tires and just have him run over them and see how well the coating holds up to that, to this 1 ton of Ram. We're gonna see what happens. Oh, okay, here we go. Oof, that's pretty beat up. What do you think?
A little bit of chewing on it. Oh, yeah, it scratched it up a little bit.
All right, let's do the next one. Test number 2 with the green guy. Let's try it. Oh man, yeah, you can kind of see it, kind of like the nail test or the punch test. Just you can see it flaking off, scraping off, even with, you know, only a few thousand pounds rolling over it. More scraping than the other one, definitely, and just didn't hold up as well. Well, gang, after all these tests, I think we've proven that, yeah, the much more expensive Pro Cerakote finish is the way to go. But if either of these techniques look a little intimidating for you and you don't want to pick up a new hobby learning how to Cerakote, then you can just go ahead and buy them right off the shelf. Cerakoted parts, it's really easy, it's really nice, and you get the professional finish that you want. But if you do want to still customize the look of your AR and do it in a much simpler, easier way, then you can go ahead and check out this video right here, talking all about how to spray paint your AR. We'll see you over there.